Last week, we began our review of pre-modern legal cantrips. We ended with Urza's block last week, Alex. This week, we're going to bring our review to an end. We're going to get right into segment 1. I call segment 1 Pre-Modern Cantrips, Part 2, Mercadian Masques to Scourge. If you don't remember what we were doing, Alex and I, we were coming up with a list of all of the cantrips that were illegal in pre-modern. We're discussing their respective pros, cons, trying to figure out what the best cantrips are to include in decks. Brief reminder, what is a cantrip? It's a spell that draws a card in addition to having another minor effect. Mercadian Masques, one cantrip, but it's Brainstorm, Alex, so we're going to move past that one again, as we've learned, not legal in pre-modern. Invasion, chock full of cantrips. Aggressive Urge, one colorless, one green, instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card. Very basic cantrip.
Yeah, that's the one that's like a slightly better version of the one from Visions. Was it Visions or Mirage? The rhinoceros.
Feral Instinct?
Yeah.
Feral Instinct, yeah, it was in Visions.
That one was a slow trip.
Bind, one colorless, one green, instant. Counter target activated ability. Draw a card. That's interesting. I just don't know how many uses how often I would get use out of this card. I like being able to target or counter like triggered abilities more so than I like countering activated abilities. I think I get more use out of that. Chaotic Strike. What do we have here? One colorless, one red, instant. Play Chaotic Strike only during combat after blockers are declared. This is a coin flip one. Choose target creature and flip a coin. If you win the flip, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card. That's just terrible.
It should be +3/+3 if it's going to be a coin flip.
I would deal with the coin flipping. I would leave some things up to chance if the effect was large enough. But in this case, just don't see the point in running that card. We have Chromatic Sphere. I like Chromatic Sphere. Chromatic Sphere is like a Barbed Sextant, but in spherical form. It is one colorless artifact. Pay one colorless, tap, and sacrifice Chromatic Sphere. Add one mana of any color to your mana pool. Draw a card. I believe this is exactly like Barbed Sextant.
Except that Barbed Sextant would be next turn draw a card.
It's a strictly better Barbed Sextant. Premade. Next cantrip from Invasion. One black instant. Remove target card in a graveyard from the game. Then draw a card.
Probably just rather play like a Tormod's Crypt or something.
Something that can take out more than one card from the graveyard, or something like a Phyrexian Furnace that is repeatable. In Invasion, we have Crystal Spray. Two colorless, one blue instant. Change the text of target spell or permanent by replacing all instances of one color word or basic land type with another until end of turn. Draw a card. I will never play this card, but it's really shooting up in price because it's in Dun-Dun. We got Dredge, one black, sacrifice a creature or land, draw a card. Again, excellent anti-curse land tech. You could also run this in your deck when you're playing against me, and I'm playing that Rootwater Merfolk deck where I enchant your creatures and unsteal them. You could cast Dredge at instant speed to sacrifice the creature before I steal it. Okay. You could do that against a control magic or anything too.
That's good. That's a good thought. I didn't think of it that way.
Sideboard this in against your buddies who play decks where they're always stealing stuff from you.
Yeah.
Other than
like
that,
art too. Pretty cool looking card.
The next one I really like, Opt. One blue instant. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card in the bottom of your library. Draw a card. So this is just a great card for digging through your deck very early. Just elegant, one casting cost. It's an instant. Helps you find what you need early on. I will be running this. And, this topic first came up when we were like, how can we maybe upgrade the Turbo Xerox deck? Opt would go in.
Sleight of Hand is really similar.
Sleight of Hand is also very good. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I realized I didn't put it in this list anywhere because it was printed in Portal. I was just looking at expansions, like the list of expansions, and the list I was looking at didn't include Portal, but Portal is pre-modern legal, and I do have some Sleight of Hands that I purchased from Portal.
Yeah, and then it was in 7th edition.
Yeah, and Sleight of Hand is also very good, and that is also something I would consider putting in an upgraded Turbo Xerox deck these days.
The Portal Sleight of Hand is the only one with the Phil Folio art.
Moving on to Recover. Recover is 2 colorless, 1 black sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's not bad. You get something back from your graveyard. You get to draw a card. It goes straight to your hand instead of on top of your library. We've seen some cards that take things from your graveyard on top of your library. Not straight into play. That's too much to ask for here. We're talking about a common with a cantrip ability. This ain't bad though. Might work its way into some popper decks. This next one I really like this one as well. Repulse. Blue has some banger cantrips here in Invasion. Repulse is 2 colorless, 1 blue instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Sway of Illusion. Now we're cooking here. This is sweet. These guys slay, Alex. Look at them. Look at their outfits. Look at their struts. Sway of Illusion, 1 colorless, 1 blue instant. Any number of target creatures becomes the color of your choice until end of turn.
Oh yeah, that's not bad.
Draw a card.
I'm looking for color change effects like that, so that's not bad with the card draw.
We're getting into the big boys here. We're getting into the big cantrips in Invasion. Teferi's Response, 1 colorless, 1 blue. I need to pick some of these up. I don't have any. They're not something that's going to make it into every deck, but against the right opponents, they are devastating. Instant counter target spell or ability an opponent controls that targets a land you control. If a permanent's ability is countered this way, destroy that permanent. Draw 2 cards. This would be devastating against the port. Somebody's trying to lock you down with their port, and all of a sudden you play a Teferi's Response. Not only do they fail to lock you down, they lose their land, and you draw 2 cards. Traveler's Cloak. 2 colorless, 1 blue enchant creature. As Traveler's Cloak comes into play, choose a land type. Enchanted creature has land walk of the chosen type. When Traveler's Cloak comes into play, draw a card. I've been trying to think about which enchant creatures I want to play in my stupid Rootwater Matriarch deck. If you remember, Alex, Rootwater Matriarch is the Merfolk for 2 colorless, 2 blue. It's a 2/3. You can tap to gain control of target creature as long as that creature is enchanted. But you could put the Traveler's Cloak on it, and if you're playing different colors, you can enchant their creature to give it land walk against the land types they're playing.
Yeah.
In some cases, they won't be the same land types you're playing, and then you can steal it, and then you have a land walking creature.
That way, you can even do it earlier. You can do, or you have to do it earlier to use the Rootwater Matriarch, but you don't mind doing it, ahead of time.
Again, this is a dumb deck that I'm building, but it's it's just for fun.
Yeah, I like it in that context.
Sable's Web. 2 colorless artifact. When Sable's Web comes into play, draw a card. Lands with an activated ability that doesn't produce mana don't untap during their controller's untap step. Again, more anti-Rishodon port tech. Turf Wound. 2 colorless, 1 red. Instant. Target player can't play land cards this turn. Draw a card.
This is the better Solfatara. But yeah, I like Turf Wound. We talked about this a little bit before. Like if you're playing a land destruction deck, or even not necessarily, like it changes the pace of the game a little bit for you. Slows them down. I like it.
Winnow. I like this card just because I like the art.
Clonk.
Gerard's in there clonking heads and taking names. Like 1 colorless, 1 white, instant, destroy target non-land permanent if another permanent with the same name is in play. Draw a card.
Huh.
Neat idea for a card.
Good for a clone deck.
Invasion. There's a lot there in Invasion. It's a big set. Best cantrips, in my opinion. You got the Chromatic Sphere for mana fixing. You got opt for deck digging. I believe that's what the kids call scrying these days. Recover. I like this one. Don't love it, but I think it's one of the better cantrips in the set. Repulse. I'm a sucker for boomerang effects. And then Teferi's Response and Sable's Web for reasons we've discussed in previous episodes. I mean, they really can it depends on the type of deck you're playing against, but they can really shut down certain cards.
Yeah, they can shut down a lot of good lands that people might use.
Next round of Plane Shift, Alex. I found 8 cantrips in Plane Shift.
All right.
First being Aura Blast. 1 colorless, 1 white instant. Destroy target enchantment. Draw a card.
I like this one a lot. This is one of my favorites.
Limited Disenchant, but with a cantrip ability built into it. And there are so many strong enchantments in the game that I think a lot of times this will come in handy. Get some good use out of this. Confound, 1 colorless, 1 blue instant. Counter target spell that targets 1 or more creatures. Draw a card. Don't have much to say about that. And then we got Implode, 4 colorless, 1 red, sorcery. Destroy target land, draw a card. This is a cantrip plus a stone rain. It's the casting cost of stone rain plus an additional 2 colorless for the cantrip ability. It's so high casting cost that it just makes it unplayable in a land destruction deck.
I'd rather play the turf wound and then have other cards that are actually land destruction alongside.
Yeah. We got Lash Knife Barrier, 2 colorless, 1 white, enchantment. When Lash Knife Barrier comes into play, draw a card. If a source would deal damage to a creature you control, it deals that much damage -1 to that creature instead. So when I first read this, I thought what was once boltable is no longer boltable. What was once pyroclastable is no longer pyroclastable.
And many other things as well.
What was once shard phoenixable is no longer shard phoenixable.
What was once summonable
is no longer summonable. So I think this is a really good card. It's just, 1 less damage, but the way the game's designed, I mean, the direct damage cards are designed to do a certain amount of damage based on the toughness of the creatures that the designers.
They generally do just enough. Also, I mean, this just says if a source. So, I mean, the source could be a creature too. It doesn't have to be.
Yes.
Yeah, a direct damage spell. So it makes your blockers better. It makes your attackers less likely to die.
Sisay's Ingenuity.
Yeah.
1 blue, enchant creature. When Sisay's Ingenuity comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted creature pay 2 colors, 1 blue. Target creature becomes the color of your choice until end of turn. This fits into those cards that you were looking for, which change the color of your creatures.
And it also, I've seen this mentioned as like a way to kind of like what you were talking about. I'm not sure if you even mentioned it with Rootwater Matriarch, but it's a easy way to enchant something if you want it to become enchanted.
Best plane shift cantrips, in my opinion. Aura Blast. Love it. Enchantments are powerful. You want to have ways to get rid of them. Confound. Always good to have additional counter options. Depends on whatever counter options are available in the format you're playing in. And then Lash Knife Barrier. I think we both really like this one. I really like the white cantrips in this set. Apocalypse. I found 10 cantrips, maybe. False Dawn. Cool art. 1 colorless, 1 white, sorcery. Colored mana symbols on all permanents you control. On all cards you own that aren't in play become white until end of turn. Draw a card.
Huh.
It seems like this has some sort of potential for a combo. I don't know what people would do with this. I'm never going to play it, but it's low casting cost and it's a cantrip. Fire and Ice. I love this card. Only half of it has a cantrip ability, but I'm putting it in here as a cantrip.
Oh.
And it's really killer because of the other half of the card. So fire deals direct damage, 2 damage divided any way you choose among any number of creatures or target players. That's the fire. And then the ice is 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant, tap target permanent, draw a card. Just the cantrip half of this card isn't really that great, but you combine the two, you build in the optionality to cast it as fire, even though you don't get the cantrip. Still great card. Now we're getting some excitement here, Alex. Phyrexian Rager. All the rage in newer versions of the Rock in Premodern, in the version of the Rock that some people refer to as Lanny Rock, because some guy named Lanny put Phyrexian Ragers into the Rock.
Yeah.
2 colorless, 1 black. It's a 2/2 creature horror. When the Rager comes into play, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So you can get it out quick. It can block pesky 1/1s. It can trade 2/2s. If we consider the cantrip ability to be worth 2 colorless, I mean, you're playing a 1/1 for 1 black. I mean, sorry, you're playing a 2/2 for 1 black.
Right.
Leaving 1 life.
It's not bad in a deck that wants fast creatures like that. Like, yeah.
All around, it's a fair card. Quicksilver Dagger is a card that I really love. I would like to make this work. Haven't tried playing with it at all yet. 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has tap, This creature deals 1 damage to target player. You draw a card. You could get into all sorts of shenanigans with this. You could run it in decks where you have the ability to untap tapped permanents. So you could tap something multiple times to draw a card. I like the fact that it does 2 things at once, and both of those things are good. It's a pinger. You can use it to. There are so many good 1/1s in the game. You can ping birds. You can ping Llanowar elves. You could ping other 1/1s that I'm not thinking of right now. Finghorn elves, Quirion elves. You can ping.
No, it's just to target player.
Damn it! You can ping the player
Joe.
1. You can ping player 2. You can ping player 3 in a multiplayer game. If you're playing Commander, you have 3 different people you can ping
yourself.
But you can draw a card every time when you do that. It would be way too good if you could use it to knock birds out of the air and kill Llanowar elves and stuff. Again, add this to the list of times where I have read a card and just said what I would want it to do instead of saying what it actually
It happens
does.
to all of us.
It happens to me all the time.
I just did it to that blue counterspell back there.
I get excited. I'm like, I know this card. I know what I would like this card to do. I'm just going to pretend like that's what it does. Best Apocalypse cantrips, in my opinion, are Fire and Ice, mostly because of the optionality built into the fire portion of the card, and then Quicksilver Dagger. I like the ability to tap on tap, tap on tap. No, even the real version of Quicksilver Dagger, I still think it's one of the best Apocalypse cantrips. Odyssey. We're back to a set with lots of trips.
Wow.
Cantripping it up in Odyssey, although a lot of them are of a particular type.
Okay,
we can
that's good.
talk
We'll
about.
get through them faster.
Afflict. 2 colorless, 1 black instant. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Draw a card. Very average. Don't think I'd run it. Ceasefire. 2 colorless, 1 white instant. Target player can't play creature spells this turn. Draw a card.
Kind of abeyancy.
Kind of abeyancy, but not as good as abeyance.
No.
But also a common, much cheaper than abeyance.
Yep.
And then we get the eggs. I see a mana rock, I'm always like, ooh. And then the more I look at the mana rock, I always decide I don't really feel like playing that mana rock. That's what's happening with the eggs. Darkwater egg, Mossfire egg, Shadowblood egg, Sky Cloud egg, Sungrass egg. They're all allied color eggs.
I like
If they're
their
enemy
names.
color eggs, I don't know. I've only come across these allied color eggs so far. They all cost 1. And then for each one, you can pay 2 colorless, tap, and sacrifice the egg to get 2 allied mana added to your mana pool. And then you draw a card. They're mana fixing. You put 2 colorless into them, and you get 2 colored. And then if you add the draw card ability, you're essentially paying 1 colorless for the draw card. We've seen for many of the cantrips we've discussed so far, the draw card ability is costing 2 colorless. So like, they're not bad.
No.
I just don't know that they make it into any of the decks that I'm running. Ground Seal. 1 colorless, 1 green enchantment. When Ground Seal comes into play, draw a card. Cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. We've talked about anti-graveyard tech. Graveyard hate. This is excellent. It's under $1. So yeah. Gotta get some. Peak. This is as cantrippy as a cantrip can get. This is like peak cantrip.
I see what you did there.
1 blue, instant, look at target player's hand, draw a card. I like it because it's so elegant as a cantrip, but I won't ever play it. But I appreciate it as a spell. I like the art, like everything about it.
Yeah.
And then predict. 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant, name a card. Then put the top card of target player's library into his or her graveyard. If that card is the named card, you draw 2 cards. Otherwise, you draw a card.
Yeah.
This is killer. This is a strictly better foreshadow. So I like this one a lot because I liked foreshadow.
Yeah.
Especially in combination with some of the other cards that let you sort the order of cards on your opponent's library, or with memory lapse, which puts something on top of their library. So you know what that card is going to be. You know what the top card.
Portent?
Portent, yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah, portent, you can portent yourself or you can portent your opponent. You can order, Shelter, this is the sexiest of all the cantrips. 1 colorless, 1 white, instant. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice, but just until end of turn. Draw a card. The lady has no pants on, Alex. I don't know what they were thinking when they put this together. What was the art direction? Draw the sexiest cantrip, Christopher. Finally, we got words of wisdom, Alex. This is what you offer to the podcast listeners at the end of every episode. Words of wisdom. 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant. You draw 2 cards, then each other player draws a card. Best Odyssey cantrips, in my opinion. Ground Seal, love it. Predict, a strictly better foreshadow. On to Torment. I saw 8 cantrips in Torment. Accelerate. 1 colorless, 1 red, instant. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. Draw a card. I like that we're down to the 2 casting cost cantrips here instead of the 3 casting cost. I don't know that I'd ever get a lot of use out of this, but the effect is kind of neat, and I like the art.
Yeah.
Equal treatment, 1 colorless, 1 white, instant. If any source would deal 1 or more damage to a creature or player this turn, it deals 2 damage to that creature or player instead. Draw a card.
Interesting. That amplifies 1-point sources of damage to 2, but reduces larger sources of damage to 2.
Insist. 1 green, sorcery. The next creature spell you play this turn can't be countered by spells or abilities. Draw a card. We talked about this briefly. Again, I don't remember if it was on the podcast or off the podcast. I like it. I considered when I saw it, I was like, maybe should I put one of these in my commander deck? I don't know, because I'm so creature focused. There are definitely times where I'm going to want to play my big creature. I'm not going to want to get him countered. I haven't picked one up yet, though. I don't have any, but I like it. I like the idea of this card. Yeah, it's a rare. Obsessive Search, 1 blue, instant. Draw a card. Elegant. Again, exactly what a cantrip should be. It has a madness cost of also 1 blue. You may play this card for its madness cost at the time you discard it from your hand.
Because it's pretty good. I mean, it's basically just a deck thinner. It's like a card that makes your deck 1 card smaller.
Overmaster.
Overmaster, this one. Remember, I think
red version of Insist, essentially. Also a rare. Also 1 casting cost, but 1 red instead of 1 green. Sorcery, the next instant or sorcery spell you play this turn can't be countered by spells or abilities. Draw a card. This is better than Insist, right? I mean, there are more instants or sorcery spells that you could play that could like devastate your opponent if it gets through that.
Yeah, and it fits, it just slots into like a red burn deck like so well, right? Like this is what red does.
The best torment cantrips, in my opinion, are Insist and Overmaster.
Yeah.
These 2 rare sorceries that actually essentially prevent your creature or instant or sorcery spell from being countered.
Yeah.
Plus they replace themselves. I like these cards, both of them. Judgment. We got a few more sets, Alex. Judgment, we're going to start with Ember Shot. This falls into the category of cards that are so high casting costs that I don't even know that I should have actually considered them cantrips. Ember Shot is 6 colorless, 1 red, instant. Ember Shot deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Draw a card. The casting cost on this is so wild to me. I don't even understand what they were thinking. Like Lightning Bolt is 1 red and then 6 colorless to draw a card. Now, I understand that the designers of the game have now come to the conclusion that Lightning Bolt was probably too powerful, and they don't print Lightning Bolt in every set, so it's not always in the standard environment. They've instead switched to other spells that have slightly higher casting costs, but still, it'll be something like Incinerate, which is 1 colorless, 1 red for 3 damage. Where's this 6 colorless coming from? This is a travesty. Grip of Amnesia, 1 colorless, 1 blue, instant, counter target spell, unless its controller removes his or her graveyard from the game. Draw a card. There's lots of anti-graveyard tech.
Can they remove their graveyard from the game if they don't have any cards in their graveyard?
Are you looking it up?
I'm trying, yeah.
Yeah, maybe there might be some clarification on that on Gather.
You can choose to exile all cards from your graveyard, even if it has no cards in it.
That's shocking.
So
I'm shocked and appalled. So you can't
the effectiveness of this card a bit.
Yeah, so you can't sneak this through as a guaranteed counter spell early in the game before they have anything in their graveyard. Loquacious's Disdain. 1 colorless, 1 blue. Instant. Counter target spell played from a graveyard. Draw a card. Again, more graveyard shenanigans here. Sudden Strength. Sudden Strength. 3 colorless, 1 green. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Draw a card. Now we're talking Giant Growth for 1 green +3 to draw a card. They're wilding out with these Judgment cantrips. Unquestioned Authority, 2 colorless, 1 white. Enchant creature. When Unquestioned Authority comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted creature has protection from creatures. This ain't bad, I think. Protection from creatures means you have like a blocker that can block anything, and also means you have an attacker that can't be blocked. Best Judgment cantrips, in my opinion: Grave Consequences, Loquacious's Disdain, Unquestioned Authority. I don't think I'm going to play any of these, but I think they're all right.
I would play Unquestioned Authority.
And we're about done. Onslaught. I don't even know if I should call this a cantrip, but it does have a cantrip ability. It's just not, it doesn't fall into the category of like weak spell that then
This is a good spell.
It's just a good card. 3 colorless, 1 blue, wheel and deal, instant. Any number of target opponents, each discards his or her hand and draws 7 cards. Draw a card. That's it. I found 0 in Legions, 0 in Scourge. So we made our way through all of the pre-modern legal cantrips from Ice Age to Scourge, unless I've missed any. If we have missed any, let us know in the comments. Did we not talk about your favorite cantrip? Let us know down below.